It's so nice to be here today to present the information to you that I have discovered in archival research over the past several years. This is a photograph of Stanton Friedman and myself at the American Philosophical Society in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I have made several trips over the past 6 years to the archives there. Philip Klass's archival collection is located there. Donald Menzel's correspondence file is also located there. It's very, very interesting. Stan has joined me on a trip there too for several days. And you can see that much of the research that we did there has contributed to our new book, Fact, Fiction, and Flying Saucers. One thing that I was looking for when I went there was for the source of the distortion with regard to the Betty and Barney Hill case. I started out there looking at Phil Klass's archival records on their case and what led to the distortion. And I discovered far more information than I had ever anticipated on a number of different topics, information that I had never heard about before, that I found extremely interesting. And today I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to be reading quotes to you. I am going to show you some archival documents, but there are other archival documents that I am not permitted to put up on screen. However, I'm going to be reading those quotes to you. Well, on September 20th, or October 20th, Walter Webb went to their home. He was a NICAP investigator, and he was an astronomer. He worked at the Hayden Planetarium. In Boston, Massachusetts, he worked with Alan Hynek as well. He conducted an 8-hour interview with both Betty and Barney separately and together. And this is just a short segment from his confidential report that he wrote that gives us a little more insight. He wrote the report on October 26th. And he wrote, "The approaching UFO finally filled up the entire field of binoculars. The leader at the window held a special attraction for the witness and frightened him terribly. The witness said he could almost feel the figure's intense concentration to do something, to carry out a plan. Mr. Hill believed that he was going to be captured like a bug in a net. That is when he knew it was no conventional aircraft he was observing, but something alien and unearthly, containing beings of a superior type." Now, on the left, you can see the original Blue Book report, an excerpt from it. It says the vehicle ascended and descended rapidly. It swooped down. Yet, when the Air Force wrote their next assessment with regard to what Betty and Barney told them, they wrote, there was no lateral or vertical movement noted. No evidence was presented to indicate the object was due to other than natural causes. There was an interesting meeting that took place at the Pentagon in 1952. May. There were 6 Air Force officers at that meeting and Donald Menzel. Donald Menzel wanted to solve the Air Force's problem for them. He said that he had done a few simple elementary experiments using liquids of different densities, and he thought he could give a simple scientific explanation to this. Well, Dr. Stephan Pisoni, who was the chief of the Directorate of Intelligence Special Study Group under Major General John Alexander Sanford, said to Menzel, well, why do you think that a few elementary and simple experiments prove anything? Well, Menzel wasn't very happy about that. He changed the subject and he said, well, you know, most of these cases are hoaxes anyway. And the other members of the Air Force, the other officers who were there, spoke up and said, well, only 2% of our cases are hoaxes. And then Mainzel changed the subject again. He offered to be an unpaid consultant to Project Blue Book. He was turned down. And then he said, I'm writing 2 articles, one for Time magazine and one for Look magazine, debunking all of this, and I want your support. And General Garland stood up at that point and said, we refuse to blindly endorse your few simple theories. And at that point, he blew his stack and he left the meeting. What did the Secretary of the Air Force say about this? He stated in 1955, I feel certain that even the unknown 3% could have been explained as conventional phenomena or illusions if more complete informational data had been obtained. And you can see what the trick was. 21.5% was converted to 3%. We can just discard the 3%. Forget about that. It's too small. But it was a lie. Well, as we went on, there were proponents for the scientific investigation of UFOs, and there were also members of the Air Force, politically connected scientists, and journalists who were opposed to the scientific study of UFOs. You can see some of them here. There were more than these, but these individuals are the most prominent as far as I'm concerned. Alan Hynek in 1975. The FBI and Law Enforcement Bulletin had published a scholarly article about UFOs and misrepresentation about UFOs in their bulletin. Very, very interesting, well done article. Philip Klass was furious. He called the FBI, he wrote to the FBI. This is, you just saw the one memorandum. And in strong terms, laced with sarcasm, they wrote in the file, Klass stated, Hynek is the spiritual leader of the vocal group of believers and kooks who claim that we are being visited by extraterrestrial spaceships. The FBI has given its endorsement to a hoax that UFOs are of extraterrestrial origin and to a fraud, Dr. Alan Hynek. The FBI responded, Klass was informed that Hynek is a highly respected scientist, recognized by all creditable professionals in his field of expertise, who is affiliated with a leading university. Another individual that Klass went after is, of course, my colleague Stanton Friedman. When Stanton was moving his family from California to New Brunswick, Canada, Klass waged a campaign against him, because he waged a campaign against Stanton for many, many years. An interesting thing is there is no Friedman file at the American Philosophical Society in Klass's correspondence files, although they had written to each other for a good 30 years.